Science, technically, is the study of nature and behavior of natural things and the knowledge that we obtain about them, at least according to collinsdictionary.com. But there's also a such thing as evil science, like when people take two different living things and try to combine them into one. Today, we're discussing 10 scary animals created by humans. Don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe to The Supreme, and click the notification bell for more lit content. Let's get rolling. Ear mouse. It almost sounds kind of ridiculous to say out loud. I know, but the ear mouse was at one point a real thing. Unfortunately, back in 1997, this image made its rounds, displaying a hairless mouse with a human ear attached to its back. Of course, many wondered what in the world was going on, and you may be surprised to learn that no, this is not photoshopped. A couple of surgeons from Harvard named Joseph and Charles Vacanti, a pair of brothers, were experimenting with figuring out ways to develop body parts inside of a laboratory. One of their theories, the one that you can see in this image, was to implant a man-made living ear into a living host. To do that, they fashioned the mold of a human ear and injected it with cartilage cells. The mold would then sit in an incubator, and the materials used to form the shape were biocompatible and bioabsorbable. So after the molded ear was implanted onto a living host, the mold itself would simply disappear over time. But still, implanting it into the back of a living rat? Pretty crude science, no? Rabbit Man. Just when you thought that the unrefined science of animal experimentations had gone too far, we've got another example of human beings playing God. In 2003, Chinese scientists utilized the DNA from both rabbits and humans to create a crossbred human-animal embryo. They weren't attempting to grow a full creature from the experiment, however, at least not as far as we know. They only allowed the creature to develop for a few short days inside of a petri dish, then destroyed it and harvested it for stem cells. Bioengineered piggy. One worldly problem that you probably aren't aware of is the scientific fact that pigs poop a different kind of poop. Well, maybe you did know that, but what I mean is that pigs can't digest phytate, which is a phosphorus-heavy molecule found in grains. But pigs, like every other animal on Earth, need phosphorus to make DNA. So farmers fortify the pig's feed with a pure version of the molecule. Almost all of the phosphorus consumed by the pigs is excreted through their feces, which ultimately ends up in the oceans where they feed bacteria and thus create pockets in the water where oxygen is essentially depleted. Needless to say, all of that is terrible for the environment. So, scientists managed to engineer the EnviroPig, which is able to digest phytate on its own. The genetically modified pigs had the salivary glands tweaked, enabling them to be able to secrete phytate. The result is a 40% decrease in the bad stuff finding its way into the excretion of the ocean-killing poop. Zombie dogs. Anyone out there ever played Resident Evil, the video game/movie franchise that started all the way back in 1996 that has the main characters blasting their way through zombies, zombie humans, and zombie dogs? Well, who'd have thunk that human beings have actually crafted up some of these undead animals in real life? In the 1940s, a group of scientists in the Soviet Union decided that it'd be a good idea to completely sever a dog's head from its body, hook the head up to some sort of machine-based life support system, and then see if the animal would come back to life. In this case, at least once, the dog's head was responsive. They even claimed that it even tried to lick its own nose. Ugh. Some of this stuff just sounds utterly insane. But I guess people have been insane on this planet for a long, long time. Featherless chicken. I bet that you've never thought twice about the skinless chicken breast that you've purchased at your local grocery store over 1 million times. As consumers, we aren't trained to care about how our product got from point A of being somewhere out in the wild or in some factory to point B, where it's neatly wrapped and tucked away at a store, just waiting on you to come pick it up. But if you've ever looked into what it takes to keep up say, a chicken coop, or maybe even a mass poultry farm, you might be surprised. And you know one thing that's extremely time-consuming for those who mass farm poultry? Removing the feathers off of the chickens, which is why a natural bare-neck chicken was crossbred with a regular broiler chicken to create the, voila, featherless chicken. Doesn't that look tasty? Bon appetit. Liger. So this next one isn't too complicated. If you take a male lion and cross it with a female tiger or tigress, what you get is this husky fellow, a liger. Now these animals solely exist in captivity, as tigers and lions don't typically cross paths out in the wild, at least not today. There are stories that long ago the Asiatic lion used to cross territories with tigers, and history says that ligers did used to exist naturally. These are the largest of all large cats, as liger cubs will usually outgrow both of its parents. Growler bear. Up next, we've got a rare bear that not many people have heard of before, and they come to about when you crossbreed a grizzly and a polar bear, and they're aptly called growler bears. Seriously, that's the best they could come up with? These animals are more common in captivity, but have definitely taken place out in the wild as well. In 2006, a hunter up in Canada shot and killed a bear that he believed looked especially unusual. Upon further investigation, including an analyzation of the bear's DNA, it was determined that this was in fact a cross between the polar and the grizzly bear. And I must say that if a white polar bear and a brown grizzly bear can get along well enough out in the wild, then hey, I'd say that there's some hope for the rest of us in humanity. At least I'd like to think. Mule. Here's one that you may not have even known was a crossbred man-made animal, the mule. These creatures are the product of combining a male donkey and a female horse. Officials claim that mules are known to be a bit more patient, sure-footed, and long-living than horses, and are considered a faster and smarter version of the donkey. One sad fact about the mule, though, is that all male mules and most females are infertile, which definitely sucks for them. Human chimp. We'll get back into the weird world of human-animal hybrids with this next one, as back in 1967, again over in China, a pair of scientists created the first human-animal hybrid ever. Well, almost anyway. The story goes that a pair of scientists from Shenyang claims to have successfully impregnated a female chimp with human sperm. According to the records, their intent was to create a new, much more highly evolved species of chimpanzee, one that had a larger brain. They wanted these new chimps to have the ability to speak. Why they thought that was a good idea is beyond me, but that's what their hopes were. This humanzee ultimately would have been enslaved by its creators. Reports say that they wanted it to push carts, herd sheep, and even be sent off to conduct experiments in space. The created creature never saw the light of day. A group of revolutionaries called the Great Proletarian Cultural Revolution stormed the facility and smashed all the equipment. The chimp host passed away during the raid. Later, the scientists claimed that the chimp was 3 months pregnant with the embryo. There's also another case that took place in the 1920s in the United States, but like the one out in China, it's mostly just cast off as a rumor. But do you think it's actually possible that humans have been trying to create this strange and unnecessary animal for roughly the last 100 years? Smart plants. So our final number of the day isn't an animal, but it is a living thing that was created by humans. Nowadays, we've got smart everything. Smartphones, smart TVs, smart homes. But what about smart plants? Yeah, those are a real thing, and they were created by a company called Orisa Biodetection. They modified a common weed called Thailcress with a very important adaptation. The flower which is normally all green, would grow bright red whenever bomb-constructing components were detected. More specifically, the plant would react to nitrogen dioxide, a very common ingredient in explosives. Seeds of the flower would be sprinkled over suspected areas. Then, if an underground explosive was detected through the color of the weed, the mine could be removed more carefully or just totally avoided. That was 10 scary animals created by humans. Did you learn anything new today? If you did, then tell us all about it. If you knew any of these things that we featured on today's list, then you can tell us that as well. You've been watching The Supreme. We'll see you next time.